In the dark shadows, in the white cold, fearlessly we search for knowledge new and old. We drink the strong spirits and read the ancient tomes. The order of the Abracast. We are the brave and the bold.
The castle in the forest. In the second night thereafter, I am walking alone in a dark forest, and I notice that I have lost my way. I am on a dark cart track and stumble through the darkness and finally come to a quiet, dark swamp water. And some small, old castle stands at its center, and I think it would be good to ask here for a night's lodging. And I knock on the door. And I wait for a long time, and it begins to rain, and I knock again. Now I hear someone coming. The door opens, and a man in an old-fashioned garment, a servant, asks what I want. I ask about the lodging for the night, and he lets me enter a dark vestibule. Then he leads me up an old, worn-out stairway. At the top, I come to a wider and higher hall-like space with white walls, lined with black chests and wardrobes. I am led into a kind of reception room. It is a simple space with old upholstered furniture and a dim light of an antiquated lamp lights the room, only very meagerly. The servant knocks on a side door and then quietly opens it, and I scan it swiftly. It's a scholar's study with bookshelves on all four walls and a large writing desk, at which an old man sits wearing a long black robe, and he beckons me to draw closer. The air in the room is heavy, and the old man seems careworn. He is not without dignity. He seems to be one of those who have as much dignity as one can be granted. He has that modest, fearful look of scholarly men who have long since been squashed to nothing by the abundance of knowledge. I think that he is a real scholar, who has learned great modesty before the immensity of knowledge and has given himself tirelessly to the material of science and research, anxiously and equably appraising as if he personally had to represent the working out of scientific truth. He greets me, embarrassed, as if absent and defensive. I do not wonder about this, since I look like an ordinary person. Only with difficulty can he turn his gaze away from his work, and I repeat my request for lodgings for the night. After a long pause, the old man remarks, "So you want to sleep? Then please yourself." I notice that he is absent-minded, and therefore asked him to instruct the servant to show me to a chamber. To this he says, "You are demanding. Wait, I cannot just drop everything." And he sinks again into his book, and I wait patiently. After a while, he looks up astonished. "What do you want here?" "Oh, forgive me, I totally forgot that you were waiting here." "I'll call the servant straight away." The servant comes and leads me to a small chamber on the same floor, bare with white walls and a large bed, and he wishes me good night and withdraws.
The Abracast. Occult, history, conspiracy, and violence.
Hello, everybody. Thank you for joining us here in this castle in the forest. We're recording live from the castle in the forest. This is the Abracast, and I am John Towers. Thank you guys for tuning in. We're continuing our deep dive into Jung in the Red Book this evening. As you can tell, the cold open was the first part of the castle of the forest. This is... Let me see if I got it straight. This is our second episode on Liber Secundus, which is the second part of the Red Book. The large Red Book. If you want to catch up on all of our episodes on Jung, you can hit Abracast.com, go to the featured topic link. It has all of our topics there in chronological order. While you're at Abracast.com, don't forget to check out the Storefront. The tarot cards are available. T-shirts. We just released a new T-shirt design. It's the Fuck Off sigil. It was dedicated to the Fuck Off sigil T-shirt was dedicated to the review that I read on last episode. And yeah, let's get to this. We have a lot of work to do as bros, so let's get to it. Jung continues. We are still in the castle in the forest. Where was I? As I am tired, I undress immediately and go to bed. After I have snuffed out the candle, the sheet is uncommonly rough and the pillow is hard. My errant way has led me to a strange place. A small old castle whose scholarly owner is apparently spending the evening of his life alone with his books. No one seems to be living in the house apart from the servant who lives over there. In the tower, an ideal, though solitary existence, I think, this life of the old man with his books. And here my thoughts linger for a long time until I finally notice that another thought doesn't let go of me, namely that the old man has hidden his beautiful daughter here. A vulgar idea for a novel, an insipid, worn-out theme, but the romantic can be felt in every limb. A real novelistic idea, a castle in the forest, a solitary night, an old man petrified in his books, protecting a costly treasure and enviously hiding it from the world. What ridiculous thoughts come to me. Ha ha ha! Is it hell or purgatory that I must also contrive such childish dreams on my wanderings? But I feel impotent to elevate my thought to something a bit stronger or more beautiful. I suppose I must allow these thoughts to come. What good would it do just to push them away? They will come again. Better to swallow this stale drink than to keep it in my mouth. So what does this boring heroine look like? Surely blonde, pale, blue eyes, hoping longingly that every lost wanderer is here to save her from this paternal prison. Oh, I know this hackneyed nonsense. I'd rather sleep. Why the devil must I plague myself with such empty fantasies? It's the old farmer's daughter joke, right? Sleep does not come, and I toss and I turn. Still, sleep does not come. Must I finally harbor this unsaved soul in myself? And is this that will not let me sleep? Have I such a novelistic soul? That's all I needed. This would be agonizingly ridiculous. Does this bitterness of all drinks never end? I must already be midnight, and still sleep does not come. As a person that is constantly in a bout of insomnia, I understand Jung's problem here. And what the wide world then won't let me sleep? Is it something to do with this chamber? Is this bed bewitched? It is terrible what sleepiness can drive a man to. even the most absurd and superstitious theories. It seems to be cool. I'm freezing. Perhaps that's what keeps me from sleeping. It's really uncanny here. Heaven knows what goes on here. Weren't those steps just now? No, that must have been outside. I roll over, firmly closing my eyes. I simply must sleep. Was that the door just now? My God, someone is standing there. Am I seeing straight? A slim girl, pale as death, standing at the door. For heaven's sake, what is this? She is coming nearer. Have you come at last? She asked quietly. Impossible. This is a cruel mistake. The novel wants to become real. Does it want to grow into some silly ghost story? To what nonsense am I damned? Is it my soul that harbors such novelistic brilliance? But this too happened to me? Am I truly in hell? The worst awakening after death, to be resurrected in a leading library. Have I held the men of my time to their taste in such contempt that I must live in hell and write out the novels that I already spat on long ago? Does the lower half of the average human taste also claim holiness and invulnerability so that we may not say any bad word without it having to atone for the sin in hell? She says, okay. So you two think me common? Do you too let yourself be deluded by the wretched delusion that I belong in a novel? You as well, whom I hoped to have thrown off appearance and striven after the essence of things. And I say, forgive me, but are you fucking real right now? What is this? It's the sorriest likeness to those foolish threadbare scenes in novels for me to assume that you are not simply some unfortunate product of my sleepless brain. Is my doubt then truly confirmed by a situation that conforms so thoroughly with a sentimental romance? And she says, you wretch, how can you doubt that I am real? And she falls to her knees at the foot of my bed. Oh yeah, oh wait, hold on. Sobbing and holding her face in her hands, my God. In the end, is she really real? And do I do her an injustice? My pity awakens, and I say, but for heaven's sakes, tell me one thing in all earnestness. Must I assume that you are real? And she weeps and doesn't answer, and I say, who are you then? And she says, I am the old man's daughter. He holds me here and in unbearable captivity, not out of envy or not out of hate, but out of love. Since I am his only child in the image of my mother, who died young. And I scratch my head, is this not some hellish banality? Word for word, pulp fiction from the leading library? Oh, you gods, where have you led me? It is enough to make one laugh, it's enough to make one weep. To be in a beautiful, suffer a tragic, shattered person is difficult, but to become an ape, you beautiful and great ones. To you, the banal, the eternally ridiculous and unutterably hackneyed and emptied out, is never set like a gift of heaven in uplifted, prayed hands. But still she lies there crying. Yet of what if she were real, and then she would be worth feeling sorry for. Every man would have compassion for her, every man would have compassion for her if she is a decent girl. What must it have cost her to enter into the room of a strange man and to overcome her shame in this way? And I say, dear child, I believe you despite everything that you are real. What can I do for you? And she says, finally, a word from a human mouth. She gets up, her face beaming, and she is beautiful. A deep purity rests in her look. She is a beautiful and unworldly soul, one that wants to come to life of reality, to all reality worthy of pity, to the bath of filth and the well of health. Oh, this beauty of the soul, to see it climb down into the underworld of reality. What a spectacle! She says, "What can you do for me? You have already done so much for me. You've spoken in the redeeming word when you no longer place the banal between you and me. Know then, I was bewitched by the banal." And I go, "Woe is me! You now become very fairy tale-like." And she said, "Be reasonable, dear friend, and do not stumble now over the fabulous, since the fairy tale is the great mother of the novel, and has even more universal validity than most avidly read novel of your time. And you know that what has been on everyone's lips for a millennia through repeated endlessly still comes nearest to the ultimate human truth. So do not let the fabulous come between us." And I say, "You are very clever, and you do not seem to have inherited the wisdom of your father. But tell me, what do you think of the divinity of the so-called ultimate truths? I found it very strange to seek them in banality. According to their nature, they must be quite uncommon. Think only of our great philosophers." And she says, "The more uncommon these higher truths are, the more inhuman they must be, and the less they speak to you as something valuable or meaningful concerning human existence and being. Only what is human and what you call banal and hackneyed contains the wisdom that you seek. The fabulous does not speak against me, but for me, and proves how universally human I am, and how much I too not only need redemption, but I also deserve it. For I can live in the world of reality as well or better than many others of my sex. Strange maiden, I say, you are bewildering, and when I saw your father, I hoped that he would invite me to a scholarly conversation. He did not, and I was aggrieved at him because of this, since his distracted slackness hurt my dignity. But with you, I find it much better. You give me matters to ponder. You are uncommon." And she says, "No, you're mistaken. I'm very common. I can't believe that. How beautiful and worthy of adoration, of the expression of your soul and your eyes. Happy and enviable is the man who will free you." And she says, just like the song, "Do you love me? Do you love me? Will it love me? By God, I love you, but unfortunately, I am already married." So you see, even banal reality is a redeemer. I thank you, dear friend, and I bring you greetings from Salome. With these words, her shape dissolves into darkness. Dim moonlight penetrates the room. Where she stood, something shadowy lies, and it is a profusion of red roses. The outer adventure happens to you, the no inner adventure happens to you either. The part that you take over from the devil, joy that is, leads you into adventure. In this way, you will find your lower as well as your upper limits. It is necessary for you to know your limits. If you do not know them, you run into artificial barriers of your own imagination and the expectations of your fellow men. But your life will not take kindly to being hemmed in by artificial barriers. Life wants to jump over these barriers, and you will fall out with yourself. These barriers are not your real limits, but arbitrary limitations that do unnecessary violence to you. Therefore, try to find your real limits. One never knows them in advance, and one sees and understands them only when one reaches them. And this happens to you if you have balance. Without balance, you transgress your limits without noticing what has happened to you. You achieve balance, however, only if you nurture your opposite. But that is hateful to you and your innermost core, because it is not heroic. This reminds me, when I was in the Army, the one of the good things the Army did for me was I was able to define my physical limitations. Some people get through the basic training and they just breeze right through it, right? Like, it's not very or physically challenging to them at all, like people that are like really put together or used to athleticism. I was not athletic. I was an art nerd. I don't even want to say nerd. I fucking hate that. I was an art kid, you know. I just sat around drawing comic books and fucking painting pictures and all, you know, examining and analyzing, you know, movies and whatever. But, like folks that have like kids that had wrestling backgrounds and stuff, or, were real good football players and all this kind of stuff, they were used to like the physical, training of it. And I was not. Probably, I mean, it's not that I wasn't physical, like I wasn't like a wad of cookie dough or anything like that, but like my sport was skateboarding. You know what I mean? My sport was skateboarding. My sport was mosh pit. I grew up in the mosh pits of Cleveland. You know what I mean? So like that was my physical activity, doing, you know, what? So getting smoked so hard you throw up, or doing, you know, so many like calisthenics or whatever that you can't walk, or doing push-ups and until blood vessels bursts in your eyes and stuff. All that was new to me. It helped me clearly define my my physicality in the early part of my life. Now, a little bit later, when I got into doing the independent professional wrestling, that was all kind of challenged already. And the paradigm had shifted as well, because the Army really busted me down. Like, my knees were really problematic. They still are. Like, my knees are like a real problem. And then, like, when you're doing wrestling training, you have to do these things called Hindu squats. You do Hindu squats until you fucking throw up. It's part of the... Not that you need to do Hindu squats, but Hindu squats will help you, on top of everything else, it helps your core. And it helps your cardio. You don't get... If you can do 300 Hindu squats and throw up, but you still want to go wrestle or whatever, like, you won't blow up nearly as fast. And it's not like running. It's something that you could just do standing in one spot. 100%. That's something that happens. All right, we're going to do 300 Hindu squats. Go. And I've seen people just fucking crumble and fucking just throw up all over the place afterwards. So, yeah, if you want to do something fun, you're like, hey, I want to try a new training regimen. Go look up a Hindu squat and then go do 300 of them. And then you're not going to be able to walk tomorrow. I promise. So that's it. But yeah, so there's my thing about knowing limitations. And then as far as imagination limitations, I mean, it's easy to say that, you know, your imagination's the limit, but how do you bend it and how do you stretch it? That's something else that wrestling helped me with. It helped me with structuring story and it helped me do out of the box imagining out of the box. So anyhow, those are the things that are rolling around in my head after reading thus far into this chapter. Oh, well, the imagination out of the box thing is because, you know, theoretically, when you're doing a wrestling match, I mean, you're bound by your physical limitations, right? Like, I'm not, even though I used to do this, like jump and do swanton bombs and jump off the stuff and all this other kind of stuff, even for a bigger, tubbier dude. So you're boxed in by your physical limitations, but after that, no matter what it is, the sky's the limit. And then you also have to pay attention to what has happened in the show before your match, because you don't want to go out there and do like the same gimmicks or you don't want to do the same finish. So you have to be constantly thinking and working it out. I know dudes, I know indie pro wrestlers that they love being the first match, but then there's also another problem, is you have to leave stuff for other people to do. Like, you can't just get out there and do fucking one spot after another spot after another spot. It's just, I don't know why I'm talking about professional wrestling right now. You have to keep your storytelling agile, the theory of your match. You have to keep the theory of your match. Well, I guess the theory of your match can stay the same, but the technicalities of your match has to be agile. If you see someone do the same finish that you are planning to do, you got to be like, yo, bro, we got to rethink this whole fucking thing. Enough. My spirit reflected on everything rare and uncommon. It pried its way into unfound possibilities, towards paths that led me into the hidden, toward lights that shine in the night. And as my spirit did this, everything ordinary in me suffered harm without my noticing it, and began to hanker after life. Since I did not live it, hence this adventure, I was smitten by the romantic. The romantic is a step backwards to Hey, happy Valentine's Day, by the way, everybody. Happy Valentine's Day. To reach the way, one must sometimes also take a few steps back. In the adventure, I experienced what I had witnessed in the Mysterium. What I saw there as Salome and Elijah became in life the old scholar and his pale, locked-up daughter, what I live is a distorted likeness of the Mysterium following the romantic way. I reached the awkwardness and ordinariness of life, where I run out of thoughts and almost forget myself. What I formerly loved must now experience as feeble and wasted, and what I formerly derided I had to envy as towering and helplessly crave. I accepted the absurdity of this adventure. No sooner had this happened than I also saw how the maiden transformed herself and signified an autonomous meaning. One inquires into the desire of the ridiculous, and that is enough for it to change. What about masculinity? Do you know how much femininity man lacks for his completeness? Do you know how much masculinity woman lacks for completeness? You seek the feminine in woman and the masculine in man, and thus there is always only men and women. But where are people? You, man, should not seek the feminine in women, but seek and recognize it in yourself as you possess it from the beginning. It pleases you, however, to play at manliness because it travels on a well-worn track. You, woman, should not seek the masculine in men, but assume the masculine in yourself, since you possess it from the beginning. But it amuses you, and it is easy to play femininity. Consequently, man despises you because he despises his femininity, but humankind is masculine and feminine, not just man or woman. You can hardly say of your soul what sex it is. And that's interesting, right? I'm just going to stop mid-sentence here. But at the beginning of the Red Book, when Jung was talking to his soul, he used a she pronoun for it. And I noticed it at the time, but I didn't know where it was going to come up. And here it is. I think that's pretty interesting. And it's also as like, it reminds me of like the ladies, or sorry, the females or whatever, the third wave feminists that are like, it's toxic masculinity, when they themselves are pretty masculine. Oftentimes. Have blue hair, and I'm bitching about the patriarchy and toxic masculinity. I got blue hair, and I'm talking about the patriarchy and masculinity. If you pay close attention, you will see that the most masculine man has a feminine soul. Maybe this is the pretty boy. And the most feminine women have a masculine soul. The more manly you are, the more remote from what woman really is, since the feminine in yourself is alien and contemptuous. If you take a piece of joy from the devil and set it off on an adventure with it, you accept your pleasure. But pleasure immediately attracts everything you desire, and then you must decide whether your pleasure spoils or enhances you. If you are of the devil, you will grope in blind desire after the manifold, and it will lead you astray. But if you remain with yourself as a man who is himself and not of the devil, then you will remember your humanity, and you will not behave towards women per se as a man, but as a human being. That is to say, as if you were of the same sex as her. You will recall your femininity, and it may seem to you that as if you were unmanly, stupid, and feminine, so to speak. But you must accept you must accept the ridiculous. Otherwise, you will suffer distress. And there will come a time when you are least observant, when it will suddenly round on you and make you ridiculous. It is better for the most masculine man to accept his femininity, since it appears ridiculous to him, powerless and tawdry.
Learn more at Abracast.com. Get bonus content by signing up for the mailing list. Get all that, plus many exclusive episodes, by supporting the show at Subscribestar.com.
Hey, don't forget to check out Abracast.com. While you're there, check out the featured topic link. Sign into the Fulgar Correspondentia, which is the fancy name for the newsletter. I've been super busy in my personal life. I haven't done a newsletter in a while, but still, it's a great way for me to be able to reach out to you. What else? Storefront tarot cards. Check out my tarot cards. They're boss. Okay, boomer. They're rad. Okay, Generation X. They're legit. All right, 2008. I don't know what the kids would say now. They're flake. I don't know. I'm not sure. They probably have something like they Uba. Anyhow, check out the tarot cards. If you check them out on the storefront, there's a whole page that actually talks about the explanation of them and so forth. And then if you sign in the Fulgar Correspondentia, there's actually a Google Doc with like a 300-page book that I wrote explaining the cards. There's also Abracast t-shirts. T-shirt designs are awesome, in my own opinion. Nothing like tooting your own horn. All right, let's get back to this. I feel like I've been babbling too much and not getting through enough of this book. Yes, it seems as if you have lost all virtue, as if you have fallen into debasement. It seems the same way to the woman who accepts her masculinity. Yes, it seems you too like enslavement. You are the slave of what you need in your soul. The most masculine man needs women. And he is consequently their slave. Become a woman yourself, and you will be saved from slavery to women. You are abandoned without mercy to woman as long as you cannot fend off the mockery with all your masculinity. It is good for you once you put on, oh boy, it is good for you once you put on women's clothes. People will laugh at you. But although at first I was like, I'm kind of getting into this because I kind of do womanly things sometimes. Watch, I'm about to get fucking destroyed. Like, I do a lot of I do the dishes in the house. I do the cooking in the house for the most part. My wife and I do a lot of the cleaning. I do the majority of the laundry. Those are social constructs. Cisgendered white man. Oh, people will laugh at you, but though becoming a woman, you attain freedom from women and their tyranny. The acceptance of femininity leads to the completion. The same is valid for the woman who accepts her masculinity. The feminine in men is bound up with evil. I find it to be on the way of desire. The masculine in the woman is bound up with evil. Therefore, people hate to accept their own other. But if you accept it, that which is connected with the perfection of men comes to pass, namely that when you become the one who is mocked, the white bird of the soul comes flying. It was far away, but your humiliation attracted it. The mystery draws near to you, and things happen around you like miracles. A gold luster shines since the sun has risen from its grave, and the man, you have no soul since it is the woman. As a woman, you have no soul since it is the man. So if Jung was a female or a woman, and he was addressing his soul like he did in the beginning of the beginning of the Red Book, he would have addressed, or she would have addressed her soul with a male pronoun. So it isn't just that Jung thinks his soul he identifies his soul identifies as a female. I think what he's saying is that each of us is material body, the spiritual counterpart is necessarily reversed. God, that's interesting, isn't it? It's like, I never really... If you remain with your arbitrary and artificially created boundaries, you will walk as between two high walls. You do not see the immensity of the world, but if you break down the walls that confine your view, and the immensity and its endless uncertainty inspire you with fear, then the ancient sleeper awakens in you, whose messenger is the white bird. And then you need the message of the old tamer of chaos. There is the whirl of chaos dwells eternal wonder. Your world begins to become wonderful. A man belongs not only to an ordered world, he has also belonged in the wonder world of his soul. Consequently, you must take your ordered world horrible. You must make your ordered world horrible so that you are put off by being too much outside yourself. Your soul is in great need because drought weighs on its world. If you look outside yourself, you see the far-off forests and mountains, and above them your vision climbs to the realms of the stars. And if you look into yourselves, you will see, on the other hand, that nearby, as far off, infinite, since the world of the inner is infinite as the world of the outer. Just as you become part of the manifold essence of your world through your bodies, so you become part of the manifold essence of the inner world through your soul. This inner world is truly infinite, in no way poorer than the outer one. Man lives in two worlds. A fool lives here or there, but never here and there. This reminds me of some of the Kabbalistic episodes we've done. The old Kabbalist would say, even though a dream isn't real, the events that take place in the dream is still as important as the things that happen in real life. And I'm sure, after reading this, that Jung, since this is based on prophetic dreams, that he would agree with that. The Kabbalistic Jung. If you want to catch those Kabbalistic episodes, you can check out the featured topic link at Abracast.com. Back to it. Perhaps you think that a man who consecrates his life to research leads a spiritual life, and that his soul lives in larger measure than anyone else's, but such a life is also external. Just as external life of the man who lives for outer things, to be sure. Such a scholar does not live for outer things, but for outer thoughts, not for himself, but for his object. If you say of a man that he has totally lost himself to the outer and wasted his years in excess, you must also say the same of this old man. He has thrown himself away in all of his books and his thoughts of others. Consequently, his soul is in great need, and he must humiliate itself and run into every stranger's room to beg for the recognition that he fails to give her. Therefore, you see those old scholars running after recognition in a ridiculous and undignified manner. They are offended if their name is not mentioned, cast down if another one says the same thing in a better way, irreconcilable if someone alters their views in the least. Go to the meetings of scholars and you will see them. These lamentable old men in their great merits and their starved souls famished for recognition and their thirst which can never be slacked. The soul demands your folly, not your wisdom. Therefore, because I rise above gendered masculinity and yet do not exceed the human, the feminine, that is contemptible to me, transforms itself into a meaningful being. This is, God damn it, this is so smart. I did a series of paintings. It was in a gallery show back in, I don't know, what was it, 2005, I guess. And it was called The Gnosis of the Pilgrim. It was a series of there were 30 watercolors. And the gallery that opened in Pittsburgh, they let me have the gallery for like a whole month, like a whole 30 days. It was in there. I sold a bunch of pieces. It was really cool. It was really a neat idea. And I always wanted to kind of do it again, get back to it, do another art show. Anyhow, the thing is that since it was called Gnosis of the Pilgrim, there was a lot of Gnosticistic stuff in there. This is before anyone knew what that shit meant. Anyways, God, I don't know. Maybe, so go find my Instagram account, and I'm going to post 2 pictures that I have. Is like sex magic, Gnostic pictures. I don't know. Those are 2 great ways to identify it. But I'm gonna post them up on my Instagram. You can go find them. I actually, I'm gonna post them up so you guys can check them out to see what I'm talking about. But there's a Gnostic idea in some Gnostic mythology that, the human being, the original human being, when God or the demiurgos Yaldabaoth created the first human being, created him as a double person. So this person would have 4 legs. It would be hermaphroditic. It'd have 4 arms. It would have 2 heads, 4 eyes, 2 noses, etc., etc., etc. And that's not what these paintings are about. But you'll see the idea in them when you look at it. When you look at them. Anyhow, and then Yaldabaoth or the Demiurge or whatever split this whole human being into 2 parts. The male part would have 2 arms, 2 legs, and a cock and balls. And the female part would have, boobs and 2 arms and 2 legs and a vagina. And the divine spark of the individual got divided into the 2 people. So that's the idea of the Gnostic idea of the bedchamber rituals and all of this stuff. This is the tool, 2 breaths become 1, when you're fucking and all of this other kind. Hey, if you want to check out the episodes we've done on sex magic, check out Abracast.com. Check out the feature topic links. Gnosticism, sex magic is all right there, and that's all what this part is. And this is part of the Gnostic Jung, right? Also, while you're at Abracast.com, check out the storefront, check out the t-shirts, check out the sweet-ass Yaldabaoth t-shirt. Oh my god, this thing is beautiful. You complete me. No, you complete me. No, babe, you complete me. No, you complete me. Shut the fuck up. You guys are completing each other. You're one half of the being, you're the other half of the being. Now go get it on and become the weird 2-headed 8-armed, 8-legged boobs hermaphrodite. Back to it. This is the most difficult thing. To be beyond the gendered and yet remain within the human. If you rise above the gendered with the help of a general rule, you become the same as that rule and overreach the human. Therefore, you become dry, hard, and inhuman. You must go past the gendered for human reasons and never for the sake of a general rule that remain the same in the most diverse situations, and therefore never has a perfect validity for each single situation. If you act from your humanity, you act from that particular situation without a general principle, with only what corresponds to the situation. Thus, you do justice to the situation, perhaps at the expense of the general rule. You should not be too painful. That should not be too painful for you, because you are not the rule. There is something else in that human, something all too human, and whatever ended up there will do well to remember the blessing of the general rule, for the general rule also has meaning and has not been set up for fun. Compromises such venerable work of the human spirit. Such persons are not capable of general principle above the gendered, but only their imagination is capable of what they have lost. They have become their own imagination and arbitrariness to their own detriment. They need to remember the gendered, so they wake from their dreams to reality. It is agonizing as a sleepless night to fulfill the beyond from here and now, namely the others of the opposing and myself. It sneaks up like a fever, like a poisonous fog. And when your senses are excited and stretched to the utmost, the demoniac comes as something so insipid and worn out, so mild and stale that it makes you fucking sick. Here you would gladly stop feeling across your beyond. Startled and disgusted, you long for the return of the supernal beauties of the visible world, and you spit out and curse everything that lies beyond your lovely world, since you know that it is the disgust, the scum, refuse of the human animal who stuffs himself into dark places, creeps along side walls, and sniffs out every blessed angle, and from the cradle to the grave enjoys only what has been on everyone's lips. And here you may not stop. Do not place your disgust between your here and your now and your beyond, and way to your beyond leads through hell. And in fact, through your own holy particular hell, whose bottom consists of knee-deep rubble, whose air is the spent breath of millions, whose fires are dwarf-like passions, and whose devils are chimerical signboards. Everything odious and disgusting is your own particular hell. How can it be otherwise? Every other hell was at least worth seeing or full of fun. But that is never hell. Your hell is made up of all the things that you always ejected from your sanctuary with a curse and a kick of the foot. When you step into your own hell, never think that you come like one suffering in beauty or the proud pariah. You come like a stupid and curious fool, and gaze in wonder at the scraps that have fallen from your table. God damn it. Your own personal hell is the shit you've experienced in your existence that you haven't reconciled. So when you step into your own personal hell, it's literally the stuff that you're incapable of dealing with. This is why you have to meet your shadow halfway and reconcile that stuff. And I'm sure Jung could have and has said it better. All right, let's wrap this up. You really want to rage, but you see at the same time how well rage suits you. Your hellish absurdity stretches for miles. Good for you if you can swear. You will find that profanity is life-saving. Thus, if you go through hell, you should not forget to give due attention to whatever crosses your path. Quietly look into everything that excites your contempt or rage. Thereby you accomplish the miracle that I experienced with the Pale Maiden. You give your soul to the soulless, and thereby it can come to something out of horrible nothingness. Thus, you will redeem your others into life. Your values want to draw you away from what you presently are to get you ahead of and beyond yourself. Your being, however, pulls you to the bottom like lead. You cannot at the same time live both, since both exclude each other. But on the way you can live both. Therefore, the way redeems you. You cannot at the same time be on a mountain and in a valley. But your way leads you from mountains to valleys, and from valleys to mountains. Much begins amusingly and leads into the dark level of hell. I'm John. This has been the Abracast. Check out Abracast.com. Tarot cards in the storefront, t-shirts in the storefront, the Fulgar correspondentia, and the feature topic links. I'm on stereo too. I haven't figured it out yet. If anybody's on stereo and wants to, I don't know, be on the show or...
It was a crazy shit time.
I'm in there as John Towers at the Abracast. Find me if you're on the studio and you want to chit chat. maybe I'm going to spend a little bit more time this week getting into it. Anyhow, I'm John. This is the Abracast. If I already said that shit, Abracast.com already said that shit too. And I don't know, did you guys like listening to the song at the end of last episode? I thought it was neat. I thought it was weird that I hadn't shared it before. I don't know. Let me know. Let me know what you think. Find me on the studio thing or whatever. All the new kids are using it. I don't know. I'm trying to figure it out. All right, bye. Come on.
Thank you for listening to this episode. Send an email or visit us on social media to let us know what you think about this topic. And please remember to leave a 5-star rate and review.
If you're considering supporting the show on Subscribestar, let me tell you a little bit about what's going on over there. The degree of the Red Archive, which is the $1 a month, you get access to some bonus audio, but there's also 50 plus hours of archived episodes. These are older episodes. They're not on the stream anymore. It's the only place to find them is in the Red Archive. There's a $3 a month tier called the Fellowcraft degree, and that has 30 and 40 hours of exclusive Fellowcraft episodes. You get access to all of those. And those have never been on the stream. Those have never been on the normal show. They're exclusive only to the Fellowcraft degree. $5. The $5 tier is the degree of the Red Mark. And so for $5, you get the archived episodes, you get the Fellowcraft episodes, and then you are able to get some swag, bookmarks, temporary tattoos, exclusive tarot cards, all different kinds of stuff coming out every once in a while. And then for $10 a month, you become a knight in the degree of the Vessel of the Art. So the Vessel of the Art degree, you get the archived episodes, the exclusive episodes, the swag, and then you get like the keystone of all swag. You get your very own Vessel of the Art, which is a full-size, fully glass mason jar with the Abracast sigil logo on it. So if you're considering helping out and supporting the show, that's where you do it, and that's what you get. If you look around on Abracast.com, you can also find a PayPal donate button. So if you don't want a monthly thing, another monthly thing to take care of, but you're like, hey, Towers is a good guy. I want to buy him a drink. You shoot me, not a coffee. I don't drink that shit, But you could PayPal me some money. All of your help is appreciated. And, yeah, that's it. I'm John. This is it. Like I said, I'm okay.